Hello and welcome to the November 2021 edition of the Pembrokeshire Bird Diary. I'm Annie Haycock from the Pembrokeshire Bird Group, here to share some of the highlights of the month. November started with some pretty stormy weather. The hardy souls who braved up to 7 hours in a force 6 or 7 northwesterly at Strumble Head on the 1st were well rewarded again. Somewhere among 22,000 kittiwakes and 25,000 auks, they found small numbers of other species, including 3 grey phalaropes, 7 Pomerine skuas and a Balearic shearwater, and best of all, a white-billed diver that came in reasonably close, in summer plumage and showing off its large pale yellow bill. This is the 3rd record for Pembrokeshire, all of them having been seen from Strumble Head. Eiders were a notable feature of the month. 5 were in the sea off Fishguard on the 4th, 4 off Amroth on the 13th, up to 20 were seen in St Bride's Bay, the highest number recorded there. 2 young males were seen from Skocombe, one on the 27th and a different one on the 28th, the first to be seen from there in 20 years. A first calendar year surf scoter at Broadhaven on the 23rd was still there on the 30th, the first one in the county since 2014. On Skocombe, 3 fulmars on the cliffs on the 3rd marked the earliest winter return to the ledges in 9 years. By the 15th, 150 of them were back on the cliffs. The black-headed gull with yellow ring TJ55 has been visiting Pembroke Millponds in the autumn and winter since at least 2017. It had been ringed as an adult in March 2016 at Gdansk in Poland, some 1,500 kilometres away. It was back again on the 8th, resting with several other unringed black-headed gulls on a floating platform which seems to be its favourite roosting site. This summer, some orphan juvenile herring gulls in Cornwall were colour-ringed prior to being released back into the wild. A few were fitted with GPS tags. One of these birds, Blue W572, otherwise known as Courtney, came to Pembrokeshire in mid-August. Since then, the GPS tag has been relaying her movements, which have included Skocombe, Skomer, Middleholm and the adjacent mainland. On 2nd of November, the GPS transmitted from the southern end of Middleholm for the last time, and it had been stationary there for 4 days. Had Courtney succumbed, or had she lost the tag? That question was answered on the 14th, when Dave Astin saw her at the Gann. Courtney lives. Dave's keen eye for gulls was rewarded again the following day when he found an adult Bonaparte gull at the Gann in the early afternoon. It was on the mud up the river from the wooden bridge for at least half an hour before flying downstream and out of sight. As gulls seem to be creatures of habit, surely this could be the same adult that graced the Gann at the beginning of November in 2018 and 2020. There was no sign of the Bonaparte's gull on the 16th. Instead, Dave and Co found an adult Caspian gull, again just upstream of the wooden bridge. It sported a yellow Darvik ring on its left tarsus, and it proved to be X290, seen at the Gann last November and previously in 2017. It flew off south after about 10 minutes. This is the 5th Pembrokeshire record, the 4th having been a juvenile in Fishguard Harbour on the 5th of November. Lesser blackback gulls roost in their thousands at Lisafran Reservoir, forming a spectacular snowstorm as they arrive at dusk. The reservoir regularly holds nationally important numbers of this species. The minimum needed to qualify is 1,200. The highest count this month was 7,000 on the 11th, which actually exceeds the level of international importance, though that needs to be maintained as a 5-year average figure for the site to be classified as such. All our regular gull species, and a few scarcer ones, are also likely to turn up at the reservoir, but in much smaller numbers. These included up to 7 yellow-legged gulls this month. Other sightings of this species included one at Angle Bay, one at Hook, and this one at Dale. Dave Astins had quite a surprise on the 3rd when he stumbled across an Egyptian goose at Pembroke Castle Pond, which had been drained that week. According to the Pembrokeshire Avifauna, it's the 7th Pembrokeshire record. Who knows from where it came, but it was unringed and appeared to be fully winged, so presumably from the UK feral population. An immature male ring-necked duck that arrived on the Tivy marshes last month stayed around until at least the 12th of November. Was the immature male at Rosebush on the 23rd the same bird? and then there was an adult male at Bicton Reservoirs near St Ishmael's on the 30th. Pintail are recorded usually only in small numbers. A dozen at Angle Bay would be considered a good count. Even the Wetland Bird Survey shows winter maxima for the whole county to only occasionally exceed 20, so 47 at Angle on the 10th prompted a closer look at the figures. The highest previous single counts were 61 at Sprinkle Pill on the 29th of December 2000, 64 on the Diclethi section of the Clethi Estuary on the 18th of January 2003, and 59 at Sprinkle Pill on the 13th of January 2011. How high will they go this winter? Golden plovers are arriving in reasonable numbers. This flock of about 1,500 were at Sprinkle Pill on the 9th, while probably a similar number circled overhead. This cattle egret was still hanging around at the Gann at the beginning of the month. Then 6, together with 2 little egrets, were seen at Quartz Watermill near Pembroke on the 13th. At this time of year there is a noticeable increase in the sightings of winter raptors, i.e. merlins and marsh and hen harriers. And if you're watching for them, or starlings, coming to roost, there's a reasonable chance of seeing short-eared and barn owls too. At the end of October, Richard Crossan found a dead barn owl at Castle Martin Course. It had been ringed as a nestling in June 2021 at a site in the Towie Valley, and so had moved 70 kilometres to coastal West Pembrokeshire. The significance of this becomes clearer once you know that barn owls are generally quite sedentary birds. Less than 7% of ringed barn owls have moved more than 50 kilometres. Then on November the 7th, Andy Jones found the fresh remains of another barn owl on a farm just east of Lamphey. There wasn't much of the bird left, only the legs, suggesting it had been predated. This one had been ringed as a nestling by the Mid-Wales Ringing Group at a site to the southeast of Mahuncleth, 125 kilometres away. While these movements are impressive for the species, there is an earlier, even more extraordinary distance record concerning Pembrokeshire. This was a juvenile ringed in July 2007 at the nest in the Highlands of Scotland and hit by a car at St Ishmael's in December that year, an incredible distance of 624 kilometres. Blue tits are common enough that they don't often get a mention in the blog. This one, however, was only the 4th blue tit to be seen on Skocombe in a decade. On the 4th of November, over 5,000 starlings descended on Skocombe. A massive frenzy of feeding followed as they plunged their heads deep into the campion and spurry in search of leather jackets. This was the second highest Skocombe day count ever, the largest being 10,000 logged on the 6th of November 1970. Large numbers of starlings were often seen at dusk heading towards the roost in the miscanthus or elephant grass fields on the south side of the A40 near Slebech. This seems to be the main winter roost again, but due to the lie of the land it's impossible to count. Smaller flocks of 3,000 to 5,000 were reported heading towards the roost on Castle Martin Course, and murmurations were reported from Skomer during the last half of the month. Flocks were also reported from the Dowrog area, but not roosting there. Toby Phelps reported a mass arrival of winter thrushes on the 15th. Trees and bushes in Llanteg were alive with them, and big flocks were moving overhead. In about 80 minutes he counted over 10,000 redwings, 234 fieldfares, 47 blackbirds and 11 song thrushes, mostly flying northeast overhead. It was an incredible sight. Other winter passerines reported included several snow buntings around the county. There were regular sightings of bramblings on Skocombe, but few elsewhere, and various reports of black redstarts, but again not many of them so far this winter. The first rare passerine of the month was a serin at the Gann on the 16th. It didn't stay for long, so only 3 people saw it. This was the 19th record for Pembrokeshire and the first since 2016. The end of the month provided another highlight. A select group of birdwatchers was in the right place at the right time to see an Isabeline shrike at Marlowe's Mere on the 28th. The bird didn't stay around for long, although it was relocated briefly later in the day. Well, that's a quick tour of November. Thank you for watching, and I hope you'll look out for next month's edition.